President Rahul Gandhi has promised 33% quota for women in government jobs. Interacting with students at Stella Mary's Women College in Chennai, the Congress President also reiterated his commitment to 33% reservation for women in Parliament and state legislatures. However, he stopped short of promising reservation for women candidates within the Congress itself. Listen in to what he said.
Hi, sir. Okay,
Can you call me Rahul instead of sir?
Okay.
Makes me more comfortable. There's currently a ideological battle going on in India. One ideology is a unifying ideology which says that all people of this country should live together happily, and this country should not be dominated by any one idea. And on the other side, you have an ideology which is represented by the current government and the Prime Minister, where they believe that one idea should be imposed on our country, and they feel that different languages, different cultures are inferior to one centralizing culture and one idea. And that is broadly the fight that is going on. We are convinced that India is spending way too little money on education. And we feel that India needs to spend much more money on education. So we're going to increase the amount of money that we spend on education, and our target is 6%. The way Indian women are treated leaves a lot to be desired. I think South India is significantly better than North India on this front. I don't think women should be second to men in anything. I think women should be at the same level as men in everything. Frankly, I don't see enough women in leadership positions. I don't see them leading enough companies. I don't see them leading enough states. I don't see enough of them in the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha. So one of the things that we've decided, in 2019, we're going to pass the women's reservation bill in Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabhas. And we're also going to reserve 33% of all government jobs at the national level for women. I think generally women are smarter than men. That's where I come from. Did you like demonetization?
No, sir. No.
Do you think it was a good economic decision?
No.
So I think it's pretty clear the damage demonetization did. It's a pity that the Prime Minister didn't come and take your advice before he did demonetization, because he would have got the right answer.
Vanakkam, Rahul.
Vanakkam.
What is that special quality that you imbibe from your mother?
Humility. Investigate everybody. Investigate Mr. Vadra. I'm the first person to say it. Right? But investigate the Prime Minister. And be absolutely crystal clear. Mr. Narendra Modi, for 1 minute, hasn't opened his mouth on Rafale. Why doesn't the Prime Minister have the guts to come and stand in front of 3,000 women and be questioned by them?
Rahul Gandhi at his candid best there. Now, Rituparna Bhuyan caught up with Harsimrat Kaur Badal, the Food Processing Minister and Lok Sabha MP Akali Dal, on the countdown to election 2019, as well as the relationship with its coalition partner, the BJP. Take a look.
Hello and welcome to this special segment in CNBC-TV18. Shiromani Akali Dal has been a steadfast ally of the BJP since 1998, and in the run-up to this year's general elections, both the parties have decided to take forward this alliance and what it means for both the parties as well as India as a whole. To talk about that, we are now being joined by Harsimrat Kaur Badal. You, as the food processing minister, tried to ensure that there are more food processing zones. And you also tried to convince the government that why not allow foreign direct investment into made in India products on food sector, which the government agreed to. But foreign companies said, why not also allow a little bit of percentage of non-food items, which the government did not agree. Now, my question to you is, this fear of foreign investment in retail, is it legitimate? Should political parties, be it BJP or be it Congress, going forward, will have to take a call in the future on allowing foreign direct investment into the retail sector and especially into food and food processing retail?
So foreign direct investment in food retail has been allowed, which is what I had asked for, because it's something which can immediately impact our farmers, because it's bringing in foreign funding to create infrastructure at a national level, which is the need of the hour. And when you've got more funds in creating infrastructure which saves the wastage of food, of course it impacts our farmers. And it is no doubt that this is a sector where the raw material of the food processing industry is the farmer's crop. And today we just process 10% of what we produce. So the more we process, the more this industry comes up.
Did investments come to the food processing retail?
Yes. In fact, FDI in food processing sector from when I took over, I'm just coming to it, in 2014, is double of what it was in 14 and what it is now. And in retail, just in those 3 days of World Food India, where we signed MOUs worth $14 billion, we have got almost 8-9 big retail companies, be it Amazon, be it CP Wholesale, be it Lots, be it Metro, Cash and Carry. About 8 people have come in, and a lot of them have opened up their retail outlets as well.
But that was a commitment, right? Have they actually bought in commitments?
Oh no, it's grounded. It's grounded. I mean, I've inaugurated the big retail, these things that they have put up. I've inaugurated those where they have now directly tied up with these farmers, where the farmers are straight away supplying to them. So there are about 8 of these chains, worldwide chains, which have opened up in different parts of India.
Okay, let me ask you a question about the Shiromani Akali Dal now. In 2009 and in 2014, you were the party in power in Punjab Assembly. This time around, you are going to elections as a party which is in opposition in the state elections. What difference will it make for Shiromani Akali Dal given these circumstances in these general elections?
I think it's going to majorly work in our advantage, because when you're in power, no matter what allegations are made, you have no excuse, because you can't say that when we will come in power, we will do this. The fact of the matter is that 10 years of the work that we had done, our opposition parties misled the people by blaming all kinds of things on us, and which is why they came into power. Today, people have realized in 2 years of Congress government, the development work which Akali Dal did, because not a single brick has been done to take that ahead. People realize the kind of welfare schemes that Akali Dal gave. Congress has shut down and cut off almost all of them. There is no government in Punjab. The law and order situation is dismal. Drugs are being delivered by home delivery on a telephone call. From farmer, 950 farmers have committed suicide in 2 years. The farmers are sitting on dharna. 450 youth have died of drug overdose. And like I said, big police IGs and DIGs are blaming each other that he's selling drugs. Congress MLAs are from states saying that drugs has increased so much. Today, every employee, be it a teacher, they are sitting on dharna, be it nurses, they are sitting on dharna, to the extent that the secretariat staff has locked up the secretariat. So there is no government in Punjab. And the graph of the Congress has dropped so drastically that I think people are just waiting to show their anger against the Congress party, to the extent no one's wanting to fight on a Congress ticket. They went and offered the ex-Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh a ticket.
How do you see that? How do you see that? Is it Congress upping the ante?
It's Congress trying to stop its drowning, doobti hui naiya, as I say, because as you know, when Congress in 2016, on the eve of 2017 polls, made these wild promises about waiving off every farmer's every loan and providing a job in every house and a whole load of other things, and everybody knew this manifesto was not even possible. It was a big fat lie. But to give it some, some kind of semblance of credibility, they brought in the ex-Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh to release it. So people thought, now if a Prime Minister releasing it, maybe there's some credibility. But in 2 years, when they have realized that it was totally a big fat lie, now they're trying to bring in that same Prime Minister to tap on his goodwill, to show on, the Congress is at such a high that an ex-Prime Minister is wanting to fight. But that ex-Prime Minister has refused, because he knows the ground realities that Congress only told a big fat lie.
He has not given his answer.
He's given his answer. He has refused, and rightly so, because everybody knows that Congress is standing at just a big fat zero out of those 13 tickets. Nobody in the country wants to touch them. Right. There's no single ally in the country which wants to be seen in their company. And the same story in Punjab as well.
Right. My question to now is regarding your experience in this government in the past 5 years. Now, as a coalition partner, you have had a long history with the BJP. But this time around, we saw many coalition partners of the NDA, expressing concerns because Mr. Modi was seen as a dominant face of the government. Within your party itself, many people were not very happy with the way Shiromani Akali Dal was treated in this relationship. If you come to power, if this party comes to power after the general elections counting is done, what changes would your party would want to see in this relationship?
I think the difference was that everybody in the NDA was used to Vajpayee's style. And of course, every leader comes with his own style. As two human beings, obviously you have different ways of working. So people were used to Vajpayee's way of working, and they obviously thought in NDA too the same way would be carried on. But Mr. Modi is a very strong leader in his own right. He has risen from the grassroots. He is decisive. He had a vision for the country, and he wanted to take the country ahead at a pace which is way more than what any other prime minister has done. So maybe many parties had their issue, but as far as Shiromani Akali Dal was concerned, this was an alliance which was good for Punjab and hence good for the country, and we have been partners with BJP through thick and thin. So it wasn't a partnership based on how we like the leadership. It's a partnership based on a certain ideology which is good for the social fabric of Punjab being a border state. And of course there is always scope for improvement, and we hope that in the next government, whatever issues whichever alliance has, those will be sorted out.
So will this be a Modi versus Rahul election, or will this be a NDA versus the UPA election, or will this be a clash of ideologies of different political parties, which we will see in the general elections? What is your sense?
I think it's going to be an election of people for progress versus people who are just spreading rumors and creating an environment with agendaless people. So people for progress versus people with an alliance which has no agenda. I think it's all going to be about that, and I think the country is pretty clear who in that Mahagathbandhan can parallel the work that has been done by Mr. Modi, who has that leadership quality, who has that decisiveness, who has that vision, and who has that strength to match Mr. Modi. I mean, I don't even think Rahul Gandhi can match the M of Modi, forget about PM. So
as you said, progress and development will perhaps be the dominant agenda going forward. That's a message coming in from Harsimrat Kaur Badal. Thank you, ma'am, for joining CNBC-TV18.
Women need more leadership roles. They are smarter than men. This was Congress President Rahul Gandhi today at the all-women Stella Maris College in Chennai. With less than a month to go for elections, women will play a crucial role in deciding who will govern the country for the next 5 years, as the gender gap in the voter turnout is sharply narrowing. The number of women in the electorate is below 50%, but it has increased to over 48% from 47% in the last elections. Now, Rahul Gandhi has promised to pass the Women's Reservation Bill and has also vowed to set aside 33% of government jobs for women. 41% of the Trinamool Congress candidates from West Bengal are women. This is the promise made by Mamata Banerjee and delivering on that. In the last election, the party had given 35% tickets to women. BJD Supremo and Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has promised that 33% of his party's candidates will be women. The Women's Reservation Bill is part of almost every major political party's manifesto over the last few years. The bill was passed by the Rajya Sabha 9 years ago, and it has just lapsed under the current Lok Sabha. The reason is not hard to find. Nearly 89% of our current Lok Sabha members are men, and women account for a meagre 11% in the country's apex lawmaking body. India fares poorly even when compared to our neighbours like Nepal, Pakistan and Bangladesh when it comes to more representation for women in parliament. So will political parties move beyond the lip service and deliver on pro-women policies? Joining us this evening to take this discussion forward, China NC from the BJP, Mahua Moitra from the Trinamool Congress, Shama Mohammed of the Congress
and Member of Parliament Pinaki Mishra joining us from the Biju Janata Dal. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you, Shaina NC, because as I pointed out, and here's the good news, that we've actually seen the gender gap narrowing when it comes to voter turnout, but still at just over 11%, women representation in Parliament continues to be abysmally low, even though this is the highest that we've actually seen over the years. You know, you claim that there is a lot that's different between you and the Congress party, but flashback to 2014 and to the manifestos, both the BJP and the Congress party promised that if you come to power, you will pass the Women's Reservation Bill. Why haven't you done so, Shaina NC? You have the numbers. Why didn't the BJP deliver on this promise?
Firstly, let me please say, I think it's an apology of a situation across the board, because not only is there just about 11% representation in Parliament, in assemblies you have a dismal 9%. So every party that walks the talk only does so when it comes to a manifesto, but we really need to ensure that in our individual parties, women are not treated as tokens and given seats which nobody else wants, or given a seat that maybe somebody else will lose. We must be viewed as serious contenders, because 50% of the electorate is us. And having said that, whether it's the BJP, the Congress or any other party, I mean, today I'd like to say on record that I'd applaud Mamata Banerjee ji for considering this kind of a representation in her own party, and I hope other parties do so too. We do believe that rather than getting into which dispensation should have had implemented women's reservation, we do know that this is a male-dominated space and we need to fight for our existence. As far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned, at least we have 33% reservation in organizational posts. Today, women such as myself are the women treasurers of the party, which was a male-dominated space. So I hope that in the days to come, we have the similar kind of a practice when it comes to electoral politics. But do believe me that every party that puts this as part of a priority in the manifestation, once they come to power, irrespective of who they are, it's really not a priority issue, because there are a lot of insecure men out there.
Well, you know, I appreciate the fact that at least this is an honest acknowledgement on your part, Shaina NC, here on national television, that irrespective of which party it is, they don't seem to deliver on this promise that they make in their manifestos, and you blame that to the patriarchal attitude and the insecurity of men in Parliament and in power. But let me come to Mahua Moitra on the issue that you raised, because it is in fact Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress. 41% of candidates of the Trinamool are women. We have not given them a ticket for the sake of it. All of them will win. We are confident. That's the statement coming in from Mamata Banerjee. Mahua Moitra, would this have been any different if your party leader was not a woman? If it was somebody else and not Mamata Banerjee, do you believe that this statistic would have been very different to the point that was being made there by Shaina NC?
That's a rather strange question to ask, Shireen. In Bengali, we have a saying, Mashi jodi kop thakto mesho hoye jeto. If my aunt had a mustache, she'd be a man. So that I don't think it makes any sense, because our party is Mamata Banerjee. She set it up. What the party would have been without her, I think, is a hypothetical question that doesn't really hold much meaning. But having said that, I would like to go back to, you have to understand one thing. The point
that I'm trying to make, Mahua, the point that I'm trying to make is that if you have women, no, obviously, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say, that if you don't have women in decision-making roles, in leadership positions, then you're going to see this underrepresentation continue.
One doesn't necessarily mean the other. I mean, we've had leaders of parties who have been, the Congress president has been a woman for a very long time. The AIDNK was headed by a woman. The BSP is headed by a woman. Do we see this kind of thing? So it's not just the gender that does it. It's the type of person in the role. So I don't think that a woman necessarily who comes in will implement this. I mean, if you see all the major parties have had women as leaders. I mean, three out of 4 opposition parties should have had women as leaders. The Congress president is a lady. We haven't seen this through. So I think it's Mamata Banerjee, not the fact that, you know, just because there's a woman at the top that this comes through. I think what's important is there are 2 things. People are going on about the women's reservation bill, and I've been on many family discussions, and what Trinamool Congress is, we are for the women's reservation bill, but what Mamata is trying to tell people, and what we are trying to tell people, is that the women's reservation bill should be passed. Yes, it's shameful that in 2008, especially governments with a full majority have not been, I won't say have not been able to, they have willfully not done it. There is no reason that the BJP should bring in an ordinance for everything under the sun and should not bring in one for this. So I think that's simple. But having said that, if we didn't have to wait for a bill, there is nothing stopping you. I mean, today the Prime Minister comes out, he decides to remove 85% of money from circulation and does it overnight. He does a strike in Pakistan. The Defence Minister doesn't know about it. If he wants to bring the thing, he doesn't need to consult anyone to do it. So number one, so they can do it. The second is that we didn't have to wait for a reservation bill. We already have almost 35%, 34.5% of women in Parliament, which is the highest. We did it without a reservation bill. Today, when Didi says that we have brought in women and we have given them seats that are not just, as Shaina put it, she said these are their seats that they are not going to win. I mean, I, for example, am contesting, and it's a very sought-after seat. It's definitely not a seat which is, one laying by the wayside that nobody wanted. It's definitely not. So I think So it is important that we walk the talk, and it is important that we don't need, while the women's reservation bill is extremely important, we don't need a bill to tell us what to do.
Sure.
We don't need a bill to tell us what to do. So there's nothing stopping governments which are in, there's nothing stopping people who are running parties today, and all parties. All parties need to come out and
I agree with you there. That
important. Yeah.
I agree with you there that it is a question of putting application to the thought, and the fact of the matter is that if you have the courage and the conviction, it could have been done. As I pointed out, there have been so many ordinances that this government has chosen to pass, but let's not make this about one government versus the other. What I want to now discuss, Shama Mohammed, is what is it going to mean in terms of policy? The statistics tell a very interesting story. While there may be underrepresentation in Parliament, the fact of the matter is that the gender gap is narrowing, and narrowing quite significantly when it comes to the voter turnout. So the fact of the matter is that you have more women coming out to cast their vote. What is it now going to mean realistically beyond lip service of we'll pass the women's reservation bill and so on and so forth? What can we expect in terms of pro-women policies? What will the pitch be, especially for the Congress party?
I think the Congress president has clearly said that he wants, if we come to power, we will pass the women's reservation bill. Now, I was hearing the TMC spokesperson saying, Ms. Moitra, it's the type of person, and I agree with her on that, because let's not forget, Rajiv Gandhi in 1993 passed the women's reservation, 33% reservation in municipalities and panchayats. So we got it, and because of that, every 5 years, 10 lakh women are participating and winning these elections. So that is one part. So if we have a will, there's always a way. And let's not forget, the first Prime Minister, first President and first Speaker came from the Congress party. So we wanted to pass the women's reservation bill. We did it in the Rajya Sabha in 2010. In 2013, we, as you know, in UPA did not have a majority in the Lok Sabha. We pushed it in 2013 as much as possible. We couldn't because, of course, we didn't have the majority. Now, there was the Bharatiya Janata Party. In their manifesto, they said that. And when we wanted to pass in 2013, the Bharatiya Janata Party as an opposition said that, you know what, when we come to power, we're going to do it. They came to power. It is in their manifesto that, we're going to pass the women's reservation bill. So when they came to power, they have the brute majority in the Lok Sabha. It was very easy for them to do it. But I believe Prime Minister Narendra Modi does not have the will. Otherwise, he would have. Because for a triple talaq, he takes an ordinance route. And for this, he doesn't even think about it. And it's imperative, like you mentioned, the South Asian other countries around us have better representation than 11.2 we have. Even countries like Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Ghana, Burundi are all better represented in the Lok Sabha and the Assembly higher than us. So we really need this bill passed. It's imperative that we do it. And I think Mr. Gandhi has clearly said that.
No, you make some valid comments there, but if I may pick up on the point that Mahua was making, that why wait for a women's reservation bill? I mean, individual parties can also do many things to ensure that there is better representation of women. For instance, the Congress party, and you talked about your party president's promise, he has promised the fact that there will be at least women chief ministers in half of the Congress, at least half of the Congress-ruled states. You've just won 3 states. There isn't a woman chief minister that you've put in place. If you take a look at your CWC representation, that will tell you a different story altogether as well. So my question then, to address the point being raised there by Mahua Moitra, is that, you know, the obsession to continue to focus only on the women's reservation bill, which hasn't gone anywhere in the last 10 years, why don't parties focus on doing what they can do within their own organizations?
Okay, now I'll come to that. Now, we have to understand that Mr. Rahul Gandhi he became the president in late 2017. And after that, we're seeing changes in the sense that he's really started talking about it. He sees to it that it's imperative. Now, for a party like TMC and BJD, they are just, you know, TMC more or less is in West Bengal, BJD is more or less only in Odisha. Now, Congress is a bigger party. It's there in many states. Now, when we need to do it, we need a consensus. We need to make the PCCs, you know, understand, because they have already a lot of males as a DCC secretary or as a PCC president or a vice president. You know, I go to my state, Kerala itself. You know, I myself am shocked because Kerala is a state where women are more to men. And I find myself facing difficulty there when I am there, because there is a lot of patriarchy. And I admit that. And that's what as women, we need to change that. And like you said, when the party is a bigger party and there are many states involved, it takes time. We need a consensus. And I think that's the reason Rahul Gandhi ji is pushing for a women's reservation bill, because once it comes in the Lok Sabha, we have to do it. All state PCCs have to do it. All states have to do it. So there is so it's not easy for a bigger party like a TMC or a BJP to do something like this. And that's why he's pushing for a women's reservation bill.
Okay, let me bring in Pinaki Mishra from the Biju Janata Dal. You know, I'm glad that we do have a man on this panel as well. Mr. Mishra, thanks very much for joining us, because the BJD, your Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has said 33% of Lok Sabha tickets will be given to women and that Odisha will show the way. I just want to take a look at some of the interesting statistics. These have been put together by Milan Vaishnav at Carnegie Endowment. If you take a look at the kind of numbers that the reserved category seats throw up, between 1980 to 2014, 7% of the candidates in the reserved constituencies were women versus 4.8% in the unreserved constituencies. Some of the other aspects that could perhaps be a factor as far as winnability is concerned, the point that was being raised there by Shaina NC, an analysis of affidavits, the median wealth of male candidates is 3 times that of their female counterparts. Also, again, to the point that was being raised there by Shama, it's interesting. Carnegie says that women tend to contest elections in states where there is an adverse sex ratio, like Uttar Pradesh, versus states like Kerala, where the sex ratio is in fact in favor of women, which seems sort of counterintuitive. So what do you believe are the big sort of hurdles to getting more women to participate in the electoral process? They're doing it by casting their vote, but how do you ensure a pipeline of better representation?
Well, you've thrown a whole welter of statistics at me, and I assume that they're all, factually correct statistics, so I'm not going to argue on that. But I agree with what Mahua Moitra said, that it really depends upon the leader who's in the saddle. And Orissa, in that sense, has always, I think, led the way. Biju Patnaik was one of the first chief ministers between 90 and 95 who first brought in 33% reservation in Panchayati Raj. Naveen Patnaik then followed that up with a 50% reservation in Panchayati Raj. And thereafter, in November of 2018, he is the first chief minister who got the assembly in Orissa to pass a unanimous resolution that Parliament must pass the Women's Reservation Bill. And I think the one question that you threw at Shaina NC, and she adroitly ducked it, I thought, was why didn't the BJP feel fit to pass this Women's Reservation Bill? It could easily have been done. They passed a very important, the 10% economic reservation criteria bill in half a day. This with bipartisan support, because I think following Mr. Naveen Patnaik, Mr. Rahul Gandhi also followed suit, asked his chief ministers to pass similar resolutions. With the BJP, the Congress, every other political shade, and really the parties which were objecting today have no presence virtually in the Lok Sabha. The Samajwadi have 5, the RJD has none. So really this could have been passed for the asking. We were very hopeful that the BJP would bring this and have it passed.
Yeah.
And the election commission, past election commissioners and chief election commissioners have told us it would have taken them 2 days to reserve these constituencies. Because what does it mean? 1, 4, 7, 10, that's the way you reserve every third constituency. So it's the simplest thing in the world.
Yeah.
There is no logistics involved. The only reason the BJP didn't do it, I think, is because I think they faced an enormous amount of internal pressure. Their UP MPs particularly, because we were all in Central Hall and we were all, you know, very sort of wondering whether the BJP will have the courage to do this. And we know that the UP MPs, which is a large tranche, just simply went ballistic and said there's no way that we are going to let our seats be reserved. So I think there has been a total lack of will on the part of the BJP leadership to bring about this piece of legislation. This could have been done. And by the way, the Congress is equally guilty. Both are in opposition. They tend to say that let us come to power, we'll do it. The Congress could similarly have made an attempt in between 10 and 14. The BJP doesn't have a 2/3 majority today, even today. So therefore, it's not enough to say the Congress didn't have a majority. Neither does the BJP have a 2/3 majority. So therefore, 2/3 majority will be by a bipartisan basis, all parties supporting.
Okay, let me very quickly get China NC to respond.
You did not. I was in that Lok Sabha, you did not.
We didn't have the majority in Parliament. We didn't have it in Lok Sabha.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, you don't need a majority, you need
let me get China
majority.
to quickly comment. Sure, that's right. Let me quickly get China NC to respond to that. China NC, I think there is unanimity here on the panel that this was something that the BJP could have done. It willingly chose not to do so. Perhaps whatever your practical compulsions may be, as Pinaki Mishra is pointing out, pressure there from the state of Uttar Pradesh is just one instance. So given this, given the fact that you realize that this is the reality of the day, is this at all a promise that you even intend to make in the manifesto this time around?
So, as strange as it may sound, I completely agree with Mr. Mishra, because there is a complete hypocrisy in our society and politics is still a male-dominated space. Congress can say that they would do it in the future, but they could have in 2010 to 14. We could have shown more political will, I concede, but having said that, I think we need to realize that the pressure women leaders across the board need to exert in their individual parties is extremely imperative at this juncture. Whether it's Mamata Banerjee ji, you know, ensuring that her party has this kind of representation, why can't others follow suit? And why shouldn't the electorate be aware that women can be viewed as a vote bank? We have always divided people on the basis of caste, creed, community, but on the premise that women's issues are not represented in parliament, we must say vote for women candidates irrespective of where they are. This kind of a campaign would really help, and I'm sure that in the days to come, whether it's organizational posts or whether it's electoral posts, we are not second citizens who cannot win or who should be given the worst constituencies, or because you're somebody's daughter, daughter-in-law, or what have you, is given an opportunity. Times have changed, and I hope that the male political class across the board read the writing on the wall.
Okay, Mahua Moitra, I know you need to leave, so let me get wrap-up comments from you before I go back to the other panelists. Now, given the fact that the Trinamool has decided to take a step forward, 41% tickets to women in Bengal, and this is better than the 35% who fought in the 2014 polls, to the point that China NC was making, Mahua, what is it going to take to change the narrative that women can be winnable candidates, that the women vote bank needs to be addressed as a constituency, needs to be taken seriously, and really on the issue of participation of women in the labor force, which has been declining in India over the last few years. You know, what is that one big promise that all political parties, you believe, need to hold out to do more on that front?
There are two issues here. It's very easy when political parties try to jump on the, well, this is the way India is bandwagon. And they say that, you know, everything needs to change in India holistically, and we are suffering as a reason because the whole country is suffering. India doesn't see women as equal. We're all suffering, even though we are part of the BJP. We are suffering because of the Indian mindset. I don't buy that. I think political parties are run by much smaller groups of people. They're run by decisive individuals. Political parties, once they're in government, have the power to change policy. That's why it's called a government, yeah? So I don't buy this that, all of India is backward, blah, 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 which is why we can't do it. I think that's a complete fallacy. What political parties need to do, I think we need to, through the media and through civil society, put intense pressure, call them out and shame them for what they are. Because when voters come out, I have seen all political parties go out and they will then call the Mahila Morcha. I think what the problem is in India is that you women, as when you're thinking of men, you don't say let's go out and get the male vote. You say let's go and get the engineers, let's go and get the lawyers, let's go and get the doctors. However, when you look at women, you say let's go and get the women votes. You don't say we are classified as a separate thing altogether, and that's a very big mistake. So I think we need to be considered as mainstream and say that let's not considered as a silo. That's the first. The second is that we need to come out and shame them, and people within their own parties have got to do it. And in that way, I'm happy that China at least is coming out and saying that I agree with you, and it is shameful. You need to come out and tell them and shame them for what it is. Because it is shameful. Don't tell me Mr. Narendra Modi, who sits there and espouses every single other cause which is dear to him and bypasses everything else. I mean, everyone says that, Mamata runs the party and it's much smaller, it's not much easier. I think Narendra Modi runs the BJP in a far more dictatorial fashion than any other person today who runs any other party. So if he wants to do it, there's no reason why he can't do it. So let's hold him accountable for it. That's very important. I think
hold them accountable,
like
and
you
also
and I need to do it, Shri. Yeah, we need to.
And that's what we're attempting to do here today, mainstreaming this conversation. And I keep pointing out, the good news is that we've actually seen the gender gap narrowing when it comes to turnout, but we now need to ensure far better representation, not just of women in parliament, but also women's issues being taken up in policy. Pinaki Mishra, this is going to be an interesting election, because when I go back to the Carnegie study, it says that by 2019, it is plausible that the female turnout will meet or in fact exceed that of women. What is it going to mean now as we shape the narrative ahead of 2019?
I have no doubt that they are absolutely right on that. And let me tell you that Naveen Patnaik's 4 terms in the Odisha Assembly have largely been because of his massive support base that he enjoys with women voters, because all his pro-poor policies are really, are policies which have actually helped women make a better life for themselves and their family and their society. So therefore, Naveen Patnaik has recognized this fact long back, that women have a mind of their own, women have a will of their own, women have a determination of their own, and therefore, if you actually show women the way, the right way forward, and we've actually found women in the Panchayati Raj system have been far more honest. They have much greater integrity. They have much greater, a will and a wish to serve the people. There is no question about it. I have personally seen it. I've been in politics. I've been in parliament since '96, and I have seen the way our women sarpanchs, our women Zilla Parishad members have behaved, and the way the men have behaved. So therefore, you give women a chance. I believe that they excel, and Naveen Patnaik has recognized that fact and has shown the way. But this is now a thing that the time has come. It's an idea whose time has come. I applaud somebody like Shaina NC for making bold to say on national television that look, there has been some hypocrisy even in her political party. Very few ladies have the courage today to speak their mind like this. I applaud her, and I also applaud her for applauding Mamata Banerjee and for applauding Naveen Patnaik for having shown the way. That's the way forward. But this is an idea whose time has come. I believe one of the very important and first pieces of legislation the next Lok Sabha will pass for sure is this bill. That's for sure. And I hope to be there to be able to pass it, because it's going to be a historical bill. And it's a long, suffering injustice which I think has to be undone. And hopefully we'll all be there. Mahua Moitra is fighting as well. I hope Shaina NC is fighting. I hope Shama's fighting. And, I think other parties must make the attempt, because Naveen Patnaik, I can tell you, is also saying that, look, I may not be able to straight away give 33% in my assembly seats. But let me tell you, you'll be surprised. He was probably going to ramp it up to almost 22-25%. And can you imagine, out of 147 seats, if he manages to give roughly 30-35 seats to women, What does that do? Because he's already told us that in each one of your parliamentary constituencies, there will be at least 1 or 2. So which means 21 parliamentary constituencies. Mine, he's looking at even 3 in Puri. So therefore, we could well go past the 28-30 mark. And that's going to be extraordinary. So there's no reason other political parties can't do it. This is, you don't have to go back to the age-old, gundas and the goons and the mafia and the, the sand mafia and the building mafia.
I hope not.
Pick up. There are lots of.
I hope not.
There are lots of very, very cultured, very, not just cultured, intelligent ladies who are out there who want to serve. Give them a chance. Other political parties must
intelligent,
pick up,
strong,
ladies.
committed.
I believe the Congress is now making some noises. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Shama Mohammed
there's so much commitment and there's so much
one comment.
There's so much India.
Yes, I'm coming to you, Shaina, in just a second. Shama Mohammed,
to say
final comments from you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to say that we are trying our best. He mentioned Mr. Pinaki Mishra. We could have passed. It was impossible for us to pass because we had a wall in from 2010 to 2014. So even after that, Mrs. Gandhi has written to the President, to the Prime Minister, the Mahila Congress has. So we are and today Mr. Gandhi said, if we come to power, there will be 33% reservation in government jobs. And last but not the least, I personally am fighting for women in Kerala. Like I mentioned, it is even the Congress party there is very patriarchal. For women to come up there is difficult, even though it's a state with more women to men. So yes, we must fight and we must see to it that there are more women in parliament by the next time, I think the 17th Lok Sabha comes in. We must see to it that there are more women in parliament and we must fight. We as women must fight for it. We can't just keep quiet and let the men get away with this. And that's very important.
It is refreshing to see. It is refreshing to see that all the women on this panel have been brutally honest about the state of affairs, even within their own parties, whether it's Shama Mohammed or Shaina NC. Shaina NC, I'll give you the final comment.
Can I just make a limited point?
You've spoke. Yes, you're getting an applause there from Pinaki Mishra, Shaina NC, and Shama Mohammed. You can't see him. He's applauding you on national TV.
Thank you. I wish the people in our party are listening too. But in every party, they need to listen. I once had an interaction, Shreen, with Satguru, and he told me something which I think all women leaders should absorb in their individual space, where he said that don't play the compassion card. Women tend to say that, oh, in my party, there's so much injustice. Play the competency card, and hopefully a lot of competent women in this country will get together and ensure that we are heard, we are represented, and we show that we can fight and we can win too. So I think that this is necessary for every political party to take cognizance of, because women are no longer seeking the sympathy. We are showing our talent, and our talent is our competency.
Well, that is the way forward. I hope that all political parties across the spectrum will recognize that women are in fact an asset and that they're competent enough to not just go out there and fight elections, but in fact win elections as well. Pinaki Mishra, thanks very much for joining us. Shaina NC, Shama Mohammed and Mahua Moitra, always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here on the Election Exchange. It's going to be one of the big stories as we head into elections 2019. The women vote will matter and will matter quite significantly. We'll take a break. A lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere.